Good evening. Hi, and I wanted to talk to you about my topic tonight. But I want to first introduce myself. My name is Paula Nolan. I am a student at Liberty University. My major right now is a bachelor's in interdisciplinary studies with a minor in Christian counseling and psychology. Some of my possible career choices. Wow, glad you asked. I like trauma recovery. I'm very interested in that. Peer support, counseling, and case management for women veterans. That's one of my pet. That's my pet love there. But and at this time, I want to talk about the research question. My research question was based on the interest, based on my interest, which my interest was in qualitative research. But the qualitative research topic led me to my question, my research question, which is I want to comparing faith integrated counseling versus circular counseling for women veterans with MST and PTSD. But I started with MST. Okay. So the key study is MST linked to PTSD, trauma focused counseling, and coping with that. But I want to know is is there a difference? Is there a measurable difference? Is one greater than the other? Faith based versus circular. While that both of them clearly shows that they are both effective to a point. So let's talk about it. Did a brief review from Kelly 20 and 21, which explains some challenges women veterans face when trying to seek counsel for PTSD after experiencing MST, and how that institutionalized betrayal can affect the trust, making it harder for individuals to feel comfortable seeking help, even when help is available. So, in other words, though you may have the opportunity to receive the help, because there are trust barriers there, and because it has happened within institutionalized settings, they may not come forth for a very long time, and that leaves them untreated and uncounseled for a very long time. So this is when we get to see in layers and layers of trauma. um and we're going to move on. So I want to talk about my preferred method, which is quantitative um, research, and why I chose that one. Because in quantitative research, it's more of you get to study the behavior, you get to study their experiences, you get to study how they experienced it, what did they experience, and it gives the client more of an opportunity to express themselves rather than quasi where you adding numbers, or some of the other methods where it's just static stats and more stats. But now you get more into the individual. I was looking at Iverson 20 and 24, which examines how MST connected to PTSD and how others experience, such as intimate partner violence, can increase those symptoms. In other words, domestic violence could be the beginning of it. Then you may have, let's say, car accident, molestation, rape, whatever other trauma may add to those layers, and that makes it even more difficult to treat. This shows that trauma can build over time and become more complex with multiple stressors. And out of Crawford 20 and 18, his research said that research questions are connected between um, group size and it helps organize the group. And that's what brings the two together and they make a dynamic pair. When you can do the research topic and the research question together, it gives organization to the study and it gives structure to the study. And we're going to move on. I want to talk about some of the preferred methods. In my writing, I talked about comparing existing counseling groups. I talked about using the DARES, the DERS, and I talked about using a brief coping assessment. Those were the methods that I used for my for my study, and they worked very well. So the strengths and the limitations, I would say. Mm, I would say I would like to utilize my study for qualitative. I used to study through experience, behaviors, and meanings in a deeper way. But in Crawford 20 and 23, I gotta digress. I hit another quote, and it was Crawford 20 and 23 that stated, um, qualitative is used to study thoughts, experience, behaviors, and meanings in a deeper way. Uses interviews, observations, and written reflections, open ended questions. That was why it was a choice. Then I'm going to digress, go back to where I left off at, which was the strengths and the limitations of the qualitative. Well, the strength is that, as I said earlier, it helps organize information into measurable data, something that we can actually measure, so we can use that to see if there is a difference between the faith-based and the circular, which is what I did. So now we'll discuss how the strengths and some of the limitations and identity in previous questions influence issues of reliability and validity. As we're testing, we want we want to make sure that the test will hold up. So we want to make sure that in reliability, we could test small group sizes and we could participate. The participants, these are some of the hindrances to it though. The participants get fatigued, they quit. Researchers have biases, and in validity, is biased, survey questions, non random sampling, researchers' expectations, and influence outcomes. Those are some of the limitations. And we're going to move on and we're going to talk about, wow, we're there already. We're at the conclusion. I can't say it. It has been great speaking with you tonight. And in my conclusion, my research focuses on emotional regulation, coping skills among women veterans with military sexual trauma. My research questions examines whether faith integrated counseling may improve emotional healing and coping outcomes compared to the circular counseling approach. I believe a qualitative quasi experimental design would work best because it allows measurable comparisons between counseling groups while still recognizing some important limitations. Overall, this research could help improve understanding of trauma recovery approaches for women, veterans, and possibly support future counseling programs and services. And with that, I'd like to say thank you for hearing me on tonight. And this experience has been quite learning, quite learning. I'm still going to work on it some more because I Yeah, I've enjoyed it. And when I enjoy something, I generally chew on it a little bit longer. So with that, you guys have a good night. Thank you for your time and attention.